Hello everyone, Coach here once more, and today you will see me suffering while trying to make a cherry tree. But before I start actually talking about my process and the things I've done, I need to say that this video is going to be recorded after doing such work. I've been receiving some feedback from the videos I've posted so far, which made me think a bit of how I actually approach to make these videos. And I really can't speak in real time while also work. I don't think I can focus properly while doing that. It will make my work rate way slower, and this made me think a bit more on why I'm doing these videos, why I'm recording this, everything I'm doing for this map. And I still don't know exactly what I want to do here, but it made me more clear to what I should do in my videos, and it shouldn't be a barrier to my work on the actual map. I don't think it should make it way slower or make it worse in any way, the productivity, as the main thing I'm actually doing is mapping. I like mapping. This is more supposed to be a way to document the whole process, to show my thoughts, things like that. So people have a different reference of how other people think about their whole work process, what they actually are feeling in the moment when working, more personal stuff. And I'm thinking that exactly right now, as I don't think I can be bothered to make tutorials. I've done the Substance Designer time lapses in the past, and I cannot just stop working for a long time for just to go out of my way and structure a whole tutorial, because I'm still not very good with my dictation. I can't just go on the designer graph, maybe the one I've already made, and explain things. I could do that, but it would be deviating for my work from my work on the map. And as I've said, I'm doing this because I like mapping, and I want to record just to register most of my process, even if it's just for me to see later eventually. But then, if I'm not making this to explain things directly, to do a spot-on tutorial with a script and things like that, I think it should be just more of a casual thing, and therefore I should actually put more effort into the commentary in a way to make it more casual, to actually show not just my process, but try to explain more behind it while I can, but mostly also including what I'm feeling, what is this actual status of the project. And I'm starting that by doing this intro, speaking as I go without a script, in order to make it more personal. So this should allow me to make more videos without actually disturbing my work rate much, I hope. And I can just make stuff, whatever. There are moments that you just don't make shit. You just spend time doing kind of nothing, kind of going in circles, and that is something I will not have to worry about, because it's just part of working on creative things, and I guess many other things. And then, like, once it's done, I can just go like I am right now here and just speak on top of it. And over time, I should probably get better on my speech. This is probably something that might be annoying to some of you, but it should get better with time, hopefully. And please let me know what you think. So this should be about that, and now we can start actually speaking about this tree I'm making. So on the references on Google Maps, I have this cherry tree. It looks pretty good. That's a cherry tree, right? So in Google Maps, I look a bit on it, and I wanted to know which species, what was the actual name of this tree, because the cherry trees I searched weren't exactly like this tree right here. So I had an idea, and I took a picture of the Google Maps Street View picture of this tree, and then I put it on an AI clanker to tell me which tree is this. I put the picture, I put, oh, this is in this place right here in Argentina. The picture was taken in September, so spring in the southern hemisphere. And it told me this specific species, which was actually the tree the tree I searched it gave me was pretty similar, so I assume it's the same. In the end, it wouldn't matter because the references were pretty much what I wanted. They were pretty close to what I needed. So with the name of the tree figured, I just assembled all the pictures of I could get the close-ups, some other angles, other lighting conditions, other growth stages, I guess. I didn't spend much time on this, but I've put it all on the a pure ref, just a kind of a reference board. I don't use it very often. Actually, maybe should use it more. But even though I did put these pictures here, at the beginning I used them more, but throughout the rest of the process making this tree, I didn't actually look at it much. So with the reference board done, I could start then working on it. And for that, I thought about making textures first. Considering that, I think it's a good time to mention that I have added Slamic to the project. I'm not alone anymore on this whole thing. There's a few reasons to this. Firstly, I was starting to get kind of bored, or I guess sad, or not enjoying this whole thing as much as I did on the other maps I've worked on. Because if I'm thinking about it, this is one of the few maps I've worked on all by myself, and it's just not as fun when you have other people to talk about things, to show the things, they see what you're making and you see theirs. It goes a long way more nicely, at least on my experience. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to have more fun doing this. It isn't all about the money, because theoretically, of course, if this map goes in the game officially in the end, I would be getting more money, as I wouldn't need to share it with someone else. But as I said, I wasn't enjoying it as much. So I'm doing this also because I like doing it. So I can't lose really the fun, the joy of doing this. So that's one of the reasons I invited him. He will be another person for me to share this project with and have more fun. And also because he is a really good teammate. On Palacio, he did a bunch of stuff that I had no idea what to do. He is really blunt in a way that he will tell you what's wrong, and that's what I want. I want people to tell me, oh, this is shit, and just say it, so I can actually improve it, not sugarcoat things. He has a really good sense of feedback, and this sort of thing of like looking at things and knowing what exactly is wrong. So that is another thing. But then lastly is just his knowledge about Source 2 and technical things that I have no idea about. Of course I could go out of my way to learn those. I probably should if I'm working on maps. But then I also am thinking, if I want to work on teams, I will work on what I'm best at, what I enjoy most at, and then I can leave other people to do things I don't want to do as much. I think that makes more sense, at least, because then each person can do what they're best at. And Slamic is really good at these technical things, like doing optimization, knowing intricacies of the engine, doing these so many varied a range of tasks that he's kind of a handyman that you call, and he can fix everything, kind of. But that's one of the main things as well. So I'm mentioning this because to start making this tree, I needed a textures again, and I asked for him to get me some textures.com scans, just a single texture, I mean, but of the cherry leaves with the flowers. And I asked him that because he has a few textures.com credits, and that's a way for me to save some time, because making textures from scratch when you can just download them sometimes without any trouble, without having inconsistencies on your art, I think is a good way to just save time. So with the leaves texture, or I guess flowers figured out, I could then move on to other things. And with this texture, it was actually kind of an atlas with a few flowers, a few branches, but they were all kind of splattered around. So I had to go on Substance Designer, that's the way I know, to just assemble them in branches to have more leaves and actually make a tree that doesn't have as many vertices, I mean as many triangles. Because let's say you have a texture that is just a single branch. If you put it on a tree, to actually fill the tree up, you'll need a lot of vertices, a lot of triangles, a lot of geometry to, because you have a single branch. But if your texture has like a big branch of other branches in it, it makes it easier for you to have a tree with a lot of coverage, a lot of like fullness to it, while also having less geometry. I think I've seen on SpeedTree that you can do that in the software. You just pick the texture you have, you can reassemble it. But I do not own SpeedTree or have not learned it, so I had to do it in Designer, where I know the best at. The deal is I could, I guess, do it on a vector software or something like that. I guess Inkscape. But the texture I downloaded had the normal maps, roughness. On normal map, I can just rotate. I would have to rotate a bunch of branches and maybe mirror them, things like that. And on Designer, I could just put all of these textures, all of these maps, make it into a material node, put it into a material node, do a material transforms, and it would do all of the operations of the maps, the texture maps, all at once. Then that's why I chose Designer. So it took me a bit on Designer, just using these many transforms, doing a lot of operations, and it wasn't annoying, but it's just kind of a repetitive work. So it got me in the end 2 branches, which I was pretty satisfied with, and then I could then start working on the tree, the actual tree. And as I've mentioned, I do not own a SpeedTree, which is the main thing people use for making trees. So I make trees in this software called TreeIt, which is pretty cheap on Steam. I think it's even free if you look elsewhere. But I bought it on Steam for like probably $2, something like that. And it's a pretty decent software. I think for a casual tree making, I recommend it if you do not want to pay for SpeedTree. I've used it before to make multiple trees for the map Palacio, which was the map I worked on with Slamek. And I learned it doing doing the trees for that map. And since it's kind of a less known software, there isn't much information on it, many instructions or tutorials. So a lot of it you just kind of learn while fiddling around on the software, just messing around. And sometimes that can be a bit time consuming for you to get. You have to put a lot of hours into it, I think. And that's my whole experience making trees, just the trees I've made for Palacio, so I'm still not as experienced. And this tree showed me a lot of that. Of course, I started making the tree after a break of not making trees, and that's always a deal, which if you didn't spend a bunch of time making a specific software, when you go back to it, you'll be a bit rusty. So the same was with the trees. I already didn't know much, but when I got to make this tree, it was a long time since the last tree I've made. So I did take a look a bit on the trees I've made for Palacio, but this tree was quite different. I couldn't just use the ones I've made before. And I think that was about it. I had to start from scratch. And as I've mentioned on the past, on the car time lapse I've done, I'm kind of a stubborn person. I do not really research things before working on them. I just start working on them, then I see it's shit, and then I made a mistake, and then after that I go and search what did I do wrong. I really should change that, I think, but I keep doing it. It's been so much time, I just keep doing this. I don't know, I've learned a lot, of course, but I probably would have saved more time if I just searched, if I actually bothered to spend some more time researching things, because I made this tree here, the one I'm making today, after a few trees I've done in the past, and only after making this tree right here, being kinda done with the geometry of it, I've realized that there's like two things I did not know or didn't care about when making these trees, which is very important. And those two things are the normals of the leaves, their orientations, and the vertex painting. The normals dictate how the cards of the leaves look in the lighting, and they can influence a lot how the tree looks in the end. And I realized that I had to learn that because once I actually was done with the tree, with the geometry of it, it didn't look that great. But that's a thing more for later. And the same thing for the vertex colors that controls the ambient occlusion and the tree sway of the tree inside source 2. But now talking about the actual modeling of the tree, on tree it's kind of a mess. You just have a drop down list, many drop down lists of just many parameters, many graphs you can change, and it gives you a lot of control. You actually need to have all these graphs because if you think about it, a tree is just way too complex. Like it has a simplicity to it that, but at the same time, it's just so complex. At the same time, organic things is kind of has that deal. It's definitely a challenge. But to start, I started with the trunk and the branches, but I did not spend much time on the branches. This is something I realized later that I will apply on my further trees I make, is that you need to make sure that you spend a lot of time making the branches look right, make so they are well distributed. You have to make sure that they will be able to support the leaves that will actually represent the shape you need on the tree. If you have branches that don't cover the area well, they are kind of all the same place and then leave another place empty. Sure, if it's that what you want on the tree, you go with it. But if it's not, then you'll have to make sure the branches are right. The branches, you should think the branches are something really connected with the leaves. If you're modeling, you kind of don't think about that. You just make, oh, branches, they look cool, but they actually need to cover the area that you need to, so the leaves actually make sense, they actually work well. If the branches aren't good, the leaves will not be good. It's kind of a chain reaction. So if the trunk isn't good, the branches will probably not be good, and that's the thing with the trees. That's why you start with the branch, not, I mean the trunk, and then you go off from that, making sure you spend extra time on the branches so everything's right. So the next step, you'll be spending less time perfecting things and tweaking things, because sometimes you'll just be so much time working on the leaves, but if the branches are not right, so the leaves won't look good as well. Just a thing. This is the main thing I've experienced on this tree, and it's really annoying. But the good part of having these mistakes and learning from them is that on the future projects you just make them way faster, and that's gonna be soon shown, as I will post another video after this one eventually, that I made another set of trees. Of course they were pines. I think pines are considerably easier to make than a tree like this, because this tree is kind of more random. It isn't random, like I think nothing in nature really is random, has all kind of a purpose, right? But you just look at a pine and look at a tree like this. A pine usually is just a straight trunk and then branches kind of evenly distributed. It kind of is pretty more symmetrical than this tree. It has its own symmetry, you could say, this cherry tree on all nature things, but you get me what I'm saying. So it's not a straight trunk, the leaves are kind of different and things like that. But even then, by knowing these things, on the next tree I've done these pines, I've just done it way faster, because I knew that I had to do the trunk right, look at the branches thinking that they need to actually do a coverage of the leaves, and then once the branches were good, I could then spend time with the leaves. But I think that's about it regarding the geometry on this tree, what I actually did on it. It's kind of just a process of looking at your reference, getting it to be similar, like messing around with the many variables in the editor tree. Um, One thing I wanted to mention, which I think is pretty interesting, is that when you don't make something, when you don't, let's say you don't make textures or you don't make trees, for this example, is that you do not realize how little you actually pay attention to them. When I first made the trees for Palacio, I did like the first ever tree, and it looked alright. I didn't know what to say about it. It felt a bit wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong. But then when I went outside to actually look at trees, then you realized, oh, I do not look at trees at all. I have not realized that they are made like this. Like I've seen trees all my life, but once I actually had to make a tree, and then I went and made one and looked at how they actually looked, you just realize that, oh, if you're not making something, you just not do not pay attention to things. So it's kind of interesting that when you're an artist, you just kind of see the world in another way, especially at the things you do most. For example, I like textures mostly, and I really just look at walls and tiles and things like that. It's so interesting to me. But to a normal person, it's kind of the effect I had when making my first trees. You just don't notice, you just don't look. And that's probably applies to many other areas as well. I guess to music, movies, like people that work on it, they have an entirely different outlook when consuming or looking at such things. It's an interesting thing I wanted to mention. But with the process of modeling the tree, I got the shapes which I pretty much thought would look good. Then I just had to place the leaves. And for that I had made my cards, I mean the atlases, the two branches. Then on tree 8 I did cutouts of these two branches. I did the geometry, kind of embracing these branches, so when I actually placed the leaves, they could kind of follow a natural shape of how the branch would react to gravity and how the tree kind of is shaped. And I think that's really just all regarding the modeling. I put the tree as soon as I kind of did the first version on the CS2 editor, imported it, the textures, and I've put it on the map, the actual physical map. And then this is now the kind of the annoying part, the whole annoying part of this process. I think to get this first model out, it was pretty quick. It was a bit annoying on the atlas of the texture, as I've mentioned, on designer, a bit time consuming, but this is nothing compared to what I had to face after this. So I got the first tree out, then it didn't look great. I didn't know exactly what was wrong with it, again, because I'm not that experienced. But then I sent it to Slime because now I have someone to share the thoughts of my work on the map. I'm not that much of a person of sharing the things of like on my work in progress things. I like to just work on things and then when they are more done, I share them. This is something that is kind of hard to say what is right exactly because you could see there's different outlooks on this. Well, if you share it while it's work in progress all the time, you sometimes might just be getting validation of like, oh, this looks good when it's not. Like, you should probably select the few people that you actually want to hear the feedback from, or you should be really good at filtering feedback. But I think you also should be good enough, or you should train your own taste, your own ability to tell when things are wrong, when you should fix or change something. And this is something I've heard, I don't remember where now, which I think is pretty accurate, or at least should be a good way to think about your art, is that your taste should always evolve faster than your own skill. So this explains, when I heard it first, it explained me why every time I made a map, I finished a map, everything I made, I was unsatisfied with it afterwards. I always kind of thought, oh, it could be better here, could have this here. This means that your taste is evolving faster than your skills, or at least it's always a step ahead. Maybe they're evolving at the same rate, but if they're at the same rate, one is one step ahead, it will always stay one step ahead. I don't think that's necessarily a problem because it's what pushes you to improve and always be better on the next project. This is something which I find very interesting, which I'm yet to have on the subject of trees, making foliage, because I'm new to it, I'm very new to it. It's actually quite different than most of the other actual assets you make. Textures and even most models, it's quite different. So I'm saying that because without Slimek, I do not have this notion. He did give me the thoughts that the lighting on the trees, the cards, the leaves cards, sometimes it looks full bright, like it's not lit at all, or other places it looks lit. It doesn't look consistent. This made me go and look into it, and I realized that, oh, the tree normals, the leaves, the orientations of the leaves, the cards actually matter a lot. And I don't know, that should be more obvious to me when I was making the trees. I guess I did not think about it at all. This was where I actually was able to make something that looked good, looked consistent, because until this point I was spending so much time after making the initial model just doing tweaks, and these tweaks went nowhere because the fundamentals were not there, which mainly was the tree normals, because without that the lighting wasn't great. So I was trying to fix the lighting by changing the leaves and things like that, but then it wasn't actually accurate how it should have been. So it was just kind of a cycle of doing changes, looking in game, doesn't look great, just went nowhere. But then when I realized this, when I had this feedback, it was just clear. It was an easy thing, just go in Blender, just change, transfer the lighting of a sphere, the normals of a sphere into the leaves of the tree, which in this case was the best case, which looked better. And with this also came the realization from Slimek that the vertex colors weren't right. And again, as I've mentioned, they dictate the ambient occlusion and the tree sway. You can't really control those aspects in Treat. It does it, but it doesn't seem to be done right, at least for Source 2. So that is something which Slimek did help me on. He made a geometry nodes in Blender that took the tree and actually did the vertex colors appropriately. And I'm very thankful for him for that. So this tree was made by both me and Slimek, you could say. And I think that's about it. So after spending a while going in circles because the fundamentals weren't there, after getting the fundamentals right, it was way easier. So it took me a few tweaks, and after those, I think I got a result which I'm satisfied with. So that's all there is to this video. I hope you've enjoyed so far. Please let me know what do you think about this new format of me trying to be more personal, more casual, just speaking as I go. Because I do not want to spend much time making these videos, as I've said, as I still want to focus more mainly on making things and just sharing how this process is, just my experience in general. So that's it. Thanks for staying this far and have a great day.